Okay, so about to bless you with yet another story time with me. Get ready, because this one, I actually really like this one. And just by reading it again, reading all the bits that I've highlighted, I've got so much to talk about with this. So strap in, strap on. This one, we're gonna talk about living with constancy, which I didn't even know what this means. But talks about change, right? Talks about how change is the only constant in life. Everything is always changing, right? 1 second. Everything, every single living thing changes throughout its course of its life, whether that's a plant, a human, dog, you know, the weather, you know, the state of this pool goes from clean to dirty, from dirty to clean. You get the idea, right? Everything's changing, but yet so many people are trying to like control it. They're trying to force their will on what we call life, this game of life. Opinions are ego-based beliefs on something that we can't control, which is change, right? So I'm gonna read out the first bit, and I'm gonna, every time I read out a cool bit, I'm gonna give you my little insight, right? And this is how this book has truly changed my life. I'm gonna keep reading bits out of this book until, you know, I've got no books left to read. But it's just the little points like this that have truly changed the way I see life, the way I perceive things, such as change. Okay, so rather than viewing change as a disrupted, unwanted occurrence, you can choose to view the variances in your world as valuable influences in the cycle of a Tao-centered existence. Okay, so this is exactly what I talked about in the start of the video. Is I think it is crucial for us to realize that the happiest people, or the least stressed people, are aware that change is inevitable. Change is coming. Whether you have got your perfect dream fucking life right now, something is bound to change. But the plus side of this is, if you're aware of that, then when that thing does change, whether it be for the good or for bad, if you're aware of it and you can sort of anticipate it, well then it's not going to affect you. And with that, you can train that muscle then. There's a muscle up here with the anticipation of it, is that you can then take anything bad that happens in your life, because trust me, life will chuck curveballs at you. And it doesn't matter how perfect you think you've got it, something will change, something will go wrong, or something will surprise you, right? But if you train that muscle up enough, when that bad thing happens, you've already been prepared for it, and you can learn to take the best out of a bad situation. But if you're so naive that you can't expect change, if you think that things are just going to stay perfect all your life, well, you're not being at one with the Tao, as it says. It's not coming from a place of oneness. It's coming from a place of being naive and opposing your will on constant change, which is inevitable, right? So when you see change as the only constant there really is, you start to recognize it as an expression of ongoing life that's a welcome clue to your own purpose and meaning. Basically what I've just said is, when you can see it as the only thing that's going to happen is change, you start to embrace it rather than trying to force your will against it, trying to stop it. And then the things that you want will slowly flow into your life, because you are expecting things to change, right? You are expecting things to never stay the same for too long. So then you start to embrace it, you start to go with the current. Imagine you're swimming upstream against, you know, current, and you just decide one day, I'm not going to carry on swimming against this. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to let this current take me. That is basically the best analogy I can give you for embracing change, right? The next part is, an ending may feel like a reason to mourn, whether it be the closing of a phase in your life, the completion of a project, the termination of a relationship, or death itself. But Lao Tzu invites you to realise that after things flourish, they return to the source. So there's a little saying, isn't there? With every door that closes, another one opens. Now, if you go about it from this mentality, you already feel better. You already feel like there's hope. You think, right, I've split up with her, but guess what? I'll find someone else. Or guess what? I'll start to love myself. But if you go about it and you go, I've split up with her, I'm never going to be the same again, I'm going to go and chuck myself off a building, you can see the same outcome with two different perceptions, right? One is ignorance, one is not accepting change, and the other one is being optimistic. The other one is saying, right, change, it was never going to work out anyway because it didn't work out. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pick myself up, dust myself off, and I'm going to find someone else. Perfect way to look at it. But yet so many people try and force things to stay the same or things to not change. You've been in and out of many relationships, yet the eternal you survives despite transitions from beginnings back into endings. You're now being urged to know yourself as a physical creation and a piece of the everlasting Tao. So exactly what I've just said. When one door closes, another one opens, or another 10 opens. I don't know what the actual saying is. It's from this perspective what changed my life. Because, for example, I quit my job, right? This is a perfect example. I quit my job, and a lot of people don't do this. And that's because a lot of people want the security. And that, in my eyes, that's just another form of ignoring change, ignoring the fact that things are going to change, and refusing to change as well. They think that they have to stay the same. They think that they can't just reinvent themselves. They don't think it's possible to change their own life. So I think that keeps them stuck in the same position. And when you're stuck in the same position, you believe the same things, you also do the same things, and I think that can be very repetitive. And for someone like me who's 24 years old, that was deeply saddening, the fact that I was in that life, and hence why I changed it. But it all started from recognizing that change is inevitable. Then I started embracing that. I started looking for change a bit more. I started not like changing everything about myself, but improving, right? Because you think if you can't be open-minded enough to embrace change when it actually happens to you, you then also can't be open-minded enough to make things change in your own life, you know, change things for yourself. So that's just my little daily nugget for that. When one person leaves you, it feels like the end of the world. When a business venture fails, you flunk out of school, or you have a painful illness or injury, you feel depressed. If you get trapped in these emotional endings, you're not permitting them to also be a natural part of life, leading you to feel disconnected from your source. You become stuck in the rush of worldly comings and goings, unable to remember the constancy where endings become beginnings. Beautiful way to put it, Wayne Dyer. Exactly the same. Like, there's a beautiful example in this, really. It's same like coming out of any relationship. Is when one person leaves you, it feels like the end of the world. When a business venture fails, so it's basically saying, if you believe it's the end of the world, it'll feel like that, right? But if you look at it from the other lens and say, right, that person's left, I couldn't control that, I did everything I could, or, you know, I did something wrong and they left, like, it's even more of a reason to embrace it and just say, right, they're obviously not the person for me. Pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and let's move on, let's move forward, you know? Like, that's the way I look at this. But that's just from reading books like this. It really, like, when it's dumbed down to you in such a way that I now cannot look at bad things happening and be so fixated on them. I just look, right, how can I learn from this? How can I better myself from this? What is this trying to teach me, right? That's all I'm trying to work out when these bad things happen, because I know that bad things are going to happen. I know that change is going to come, and that's probably the most important shift you can ever have. This is a beautiful, beautiful way to put it. This too shall pass. It always has and always will. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I'm going to get that on a fucking t-shirt. I'm going to get that tattooed. So I'm going to read it out again just for repetition. This too shall pass. It always has and always will. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Exactly what we've just been touching up on is, if you view change as bad, if you view change as it shouldn't happen, then you will always be shocked by it. You will always feel negative about it. You'll always fall victim to it, right? But when you look at something bad happening and you say this too shall pass, it always has and it always will, you probably can't remember like something that you were stressing about 5 years ago, or you probably don't feel that same pain, right? You probably don't feel that same intensity of, at the time, how much it messed you up inside, and then now you don't probably look at it like that. And if you can just speed up that process beforehand, if you can just start to feel less bothered about it in the moment, you'll save yourself not only a load of stress, but you'll probably give yourself more energy to figure out what it is you need to do. Right, Wayne Dyer actually does like a little task, so I'm going to run you through the task every single time I read a section of this book, and I want you to do it. It says do the Tao now at the end of it, right? You see it there? Do the Tao now. And the majority of them I highlight because it's like a little task, and this is what helps you really digest all this, really helps it sink in your brain. Dedicate a day to consciously seeking situations, to practice impartially observing endings as beginnings. Challenge yourself to find a specific number by noon. So go out there and look for as many things as possible that are changing all the time. You know, night into day, day into night. You start your shift, it's the end of your free time, it's the start of your work time, vice versa. everything that changes always everything that ends always signifies a beginning, right? Also, do this on looking at your past, right? Look into your past, and this hurts some people, but look at your past. Look at all the things that changed in your life dramatically, right? Things that hurt in the time, you know, somebody died or somebody left you, right? Or, you know, job didn't work out, you got sacked. Usually, when you look at it now, because it's been some time and time's passed, and you look back on that change and you go, yeah, that needed to happen. Yeah, that person leaving me made me stronger. Me getting sacked from that job actually made me find a better job. Getting sick that one time, it made me value my health more. And I do this all the fucking time now. I look back at all the times I got pied off, all the times that, you know, all the times I lost money with trading, and I look at it and I embrace the change now. I realise it was always supposed to happen. And it's because I look at it from that viewpoint now, from this book, that I'm able to grab change by the balls and accept it. And when you can accept it, you can work with it. Swim with the current, don't swim against it. But yeah, I hope that's been dead helpful for you. I'm going to carry on dissecting this book. I'm going to carry on showing you all the bits that I've highlighted. I'm going to carry on because I can't begin to tell you, this book changed my life. It changed my perception of everything. It's probably the reason why my Tuesdays look like this, and that is not to flex. That is me telling you, you cannot change your outer world if you're in a world that's stuck in the same place. And the biggest word I'm using there is change. You can't change how you're thinking, you can't change how you perceive life, perceive things that happen in your life. You're never going to be able to change the environment or the people you're hanging around with. You're never going to be able to change any of it. So, without a further ado, you've been a pleasure. I'll see you in the next one, motherfuckers.